Hey, what's
Hey,
going on,
hey,
everybody?
everybody. We are back again. We're Mike and Wendy. This is the Marriage Shop.
Whoa,
You have
whoa,
landed in the right place.
whoa, whoa,
What?
whoa, whoa, whoa.
What?
Man, you just moving a little fast. You moving a little fast. No, but yeah, it's Monday, y'all. Welcome to the Marriage Shop. Okay, we can start now.
So we're glad you joined us. So we always give you kind of the weather update. So we're here in Evans. We survived hurricane or tropical storms. Which was it? It was something, and then it was great. Frank, Grace, and Henri just
You said
missed us.
I was gonna say you said we survived them. I mean,
Well,
it's
they
kind of
missed us.
yeah. I was gonna say it's kind of one of those
Yeah.
things where there's a couple of leaves on the ground and you take pictures and you post the "We Will Rebuild"
Yeah.
hashtag.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
it was a lot to do and about not much here.
Yeah, but our thoughts and prayers are with those families in Tennessee and New York, where they got more rain and flooding than they expected. And as always, we're just always trying to be sensitive to what's happening in other places.
Yeah.
And we always like for you to share with us what's happening where you are. So if you're not in the Evans area or the CSRA, for those who know,
Oh boy.
Drop in the comments what your weather is like today. So if you were with us last week, we talked about the empty nest, right? Because it's that time of year again where people are getting ready for back to school. And in some places, they're already back in school, especially down here in the South. We both grew up in the Northeast, and you didn't go back to school till after Labor Day, I think, when we were in elementary school. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So you haven't gone back to school yet. So I wanted to take a quick pause because I said, hey, this seems like maybe we should get ready for a part 2. We're not going to do a part 2. But before we get to what we are talking about tonight, and you probably saw it in the comments, I want to just quickly shout out Michelle Moore Wilson, McNeil, Sue and Ellison, Gloria Hamilton. Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, look, that says playingforenvelopes.com.
That's Greg Hoy. What's up, Coach? West Coast is in the house.
All right. So thanks for jumping on early. We're glad you're here. So for those of you who don't necessarily have an empty nest, but you are preparing your little ones to go back, our thoughts and prayers are with you as we navigate the Delta variant, right, of COVID. And we know it's not an easy decision, and we find ourselves kind of resetting each time kids return to school. So, and for those of you who don't have children at all, be careful because those school buses and the children are now back and they are out there, and don't get frustrated because it's holding up traffic.
Oh, you said be careful. I thought you were saying like don't breathe their air, like an old school bus. But don't breathe their air though, for real. If you don't have kids, it's
Ashley
a shame
Key.
to get COVID from kids in our choice. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Oh my goodness. Ashley Key, where you been?
Ashley, what's up?
Yes. And Barbara Jean, where you been?
Come on.
We miss you.
Come on.
We miss you.
The whole gang's here tonight, right?
Yeah,
I see Anna Reeves. She said she finished the book.
Oh, yay. Welcome back. Anna Reeves, we miss you. I think she was on last week.
Leave a review, Anna. Thank you. I mean, as long as you loved it, just leave a review. She said she shared it. She didn't say she loved it.
Oh, I see. So if you're joining us for the first time, he's Mike. I'm Wendy.
Yeah.
This is the Marriage Shop. We did write a book last year. It's called When, A Story of Marriage, and it is available on Amazon, just in case you missed any of that. And the song that you heard at the beginning is our song. It's Lifetime by Mike and Wendy, and you can get that too. And if you go to our page, there's all kinds of stuff. If you want Marriage Shop merch, we got Marriage Shop merch. So it's like a whole commercial going into tonight. Hey, and Alfreda Smith, I was just asking Mike about Pastor? You.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Yeah. So that was a lie.
Yeah.
For real. But everything she said is true. Yeah. But that last year is a busy year. It was a good year, right?
Yeah, a good year.
And by the way, we also need to mention that the Weekend to Remember is back. And so we're actually speaking in Chattanooga this year, but for those of you in the Augusta area, there'll be one here as well.
Yep.
During that same weekend, I think September 10th through the 12th.
Yeah.
And we'll put it up in the chat in a little bit, but we have, I think Wendy mentioned a discount code for that, a group code for that, that'll give you a discount. I think they just entered into their buy one, get one campaign, or half off, or whatever they're calling it, half off. And so we'll put that in the chat. The weekend to remember will be here in the Augusta area. But anybody who wants to use that, wherever it comes in your town, you can use that same code and you'll get half off when that campaign hits.
So it's supposed to go live today. If it isn't live yet, just keep checking back. But it's supposed to start today. And our code is OGBC Evans. OGBCEVANS.
You know what?
He's going to drop it in the comments.
It'll get dropped in the comments at some point. But people, what you say? OCBG?
No.
I'm sorry, I don't want to mess y'all up. But come on, we'll drop it in the comments.
Oh,
what?
Look.
Kiki
is coming to the Raleigh WTR.
What?
Oh, yay! What? We're not going to be in Raleigh.
You say, yeah, we're not going to be in Raleigh.
No, but I'm glad they're going.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're glad. I mean, don't get me wrong, Kiki. I'm just, because it's not about that. But I thought Wendy was like we were going to, you were celebrating hard.
No, I'm excited that they're going. We're so excited for you guys. I just had to take a little happy pause break. I am so excited for you. So let me tell you, my cousin Kiki got married last year and is happily married and just living her fullest life. God is blessing her in so many amazing ways. Some of you may have seen her in the marriage shop a couple times or seen her name. So she's married, and then they are blessed with expecting. So I hope that's okay to put out to everybody.
It's out there now. Congratulations.
And I am so excited. I'm so excited. She shared a picture of her cute little baby bump today, and I was just overjoyed, like to tears. So I had to just kind of take that little pause real quick and put that in there because, hey, it's my family.
Yeah, congratulations. And we're growing.
Yay. Woo woo.
Yes, indeed.
Shouts out to you and Charles. Okay.
Yep, is Charles there? Tell Charles we say what's up.
Yes,
all right.
Yes.
All right,
yay,
so.
Yes, yay.
Now that
that was a lot.
That was a lot.
That was a lot.
Man, my head is spinning a little bit. Anyway.
I know. I had to get it all in.
Yeah.
Because tonight is mostly you.
Well, I mean, it's us, but I'll be talking a lot, but I want to hear from you all, because tonight we're talking about something I think that's really important. I mean, this is the Marriage Shop, right? The Marriage Shop is about doing marriage in the way that God defines it, in the way that He instructs it ultimately. But there's a lot of pieces that go into that, right? A lot of people will talk about marriage as if it's simple, like, hey, all you got to do, man and woman become one. They walk down the aisle, walk down the aisle and then become one, right? And they live happily ever after, and it's great, it's awesome, right? Marriage, right? And so most of you know that that's not necessarily the way that it goes always, right? Marriage can be amazing, but there's a way, right, that it can be amazing. And sometimes for most of us, there's a journey to get into that amazing thing, right? Where we are feeling the love that we think we should feel. We are offering what we need to offer into that. That can become a challenge, right? Until you understand some things very basically. But I believe that the marriage, like how it goes, the tone of it and everything, is really about how the husband shows up.
Yeah.
It can be, right?
Yeah.
Like in most cases, it's about how you show up. Now, a lot of you will say, yeah, I don't agree with that. Right. And I get it. Right. But because, I do what I'm supposed to do and I still can't get this woman to act right. And I know what it's like to not be able to get that woman to act right.
That's funny. Don't we all?
Yeah.
But you said something I think that was key, right? And I think that it's necessary to say, if you're joining us for the first time, while we don't always try to explain this, we do want you to know that what we are examining is God's plan for marriage, right? What the Word says about marriage, and really kind of exploring it from that perspective.
Yeah.
And so as we enter into the conversation that we're having, it really is about how do you then unpack this thing, right? So if you are not yet or have not given your life to Christ, or you're not self-proclaimed Christians, or you're still exploring the Word or figuring it out, then this is one way, right? And when you start to talk about the husband's role, it is deeply rooted in what the Word says, right? And so I just wanted to kind of add that in there real quick, because I think it's a critical piece.
Yeah. No doubt. And so, I mean, my question for you, and please put it in the chat. And husbands, you can put it in there, or husbands to be, wives to be, whatever, even exes. put it in the chat. What is
say
exes? I mean, you got people up here who have exes. You know it. Y'all know what I'm saying. Anyway, what's the husband's number one job? Put it in the chat.
That's good.
And just a couple. I don't need a whole. We can't read that, right? But give me a couple of words. What's a 1 or 2 words? What's the husband's number one job? I want to know what you think, because we got to kind of set this up, understanding some of the perspectives out there. Whatever you believe that thing is, this will probably will be one of the more challenging jobs you will ever have in your life.
Yeah, that's good. Period. That's good. And I see you guys dropping that in. I did want to say hey to Tara Carroll, and just know that we've been praying for you and your family regarding your recent loss, and we're glad you're back and joining us tonight. And then we had a person that said this is her first time here tonight, and I think her name was Lisa. It's kind of going real quick, okay. But yeah, we're glad that you're joining us, and welcome to the Marriage Shop. I see you guys are on it tonight and dropping those comments in. Yes, it was Lisa Brewer Connect. So glad you're here. Glad you found us.
Welcome.
Yes. Nicolette DeRamus has the Fast Fingers Award tonight. Again? She's the first one jumping in there. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, these are good.
Okay. Yeah. Love wife unconditionally. Love her. Produce fruit. Protect, love, support our wives first.
Yeah.
Lead the home. Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Faithfulness.
All
right. Perfect.
Hey, Jay Sutton, welcome back. Hey, it's been a while. We were thinking about you too.
Jay Sutton has commented at least 2 to 5 times.
I know, and I'm just saying, welcome back. We missed you guys. We're about to start coming looking for y'all.
I know, right? Jay said, was that Jay that mentioned something about coming to Cary? Yeah, that was Jay. Yeah, we will not be in Carolina this year, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, but that's
not
right. We'll
work
it
out.
Not in the fall, but we'll work that out somehow. But yeah, so thank you all for doing that, being her number one fan. Thanks, Sue.
Yeah.
So
and
look,
Jessica Jones. Hey, we missed you too. Okay. That's it.
All right. So there's some good stuff going in the chat, right? And oftentimes when you ask that question, like, what's the husband's number one job, right? A lot of times when the first things you hear, I see support, lift her up. Yeah. I hear, you'll hear to protect her, right? To be her protector. Yeah. You'll hear to provide for her, right? Be a provider. A lot of husbands, like, that's the number one job.
Yeah.
But most of you, I think, well, before I say that, I'm not going to actually reference this tightly tonight, but this book right here has been out for a long time. This is Tony Evans, For Married Men Only. Y'all should pick this book up. He actually has one for married women only too.
Yeah.
And I wish I could tell you that one was really good, but I picked it up and I tried to read it because I read through mine. I'm like, oh yeah, this is good stuff. So I needed to read through Wendy's to figure out, like, okay, well, what she need to do. So I started trying to read it. I couldn't. For some reason, I just couldn't make my brain shut down.
Yeah, because it was not for you. And so For Married Women Only is also a really good read. And so those of you that follow Tony Evans or his podcast know that he often brings a good word and lots of wisdom. Yeah. But it's a short little book, a quick read that I think if you're just starting out or trying to figure this out, it's a great place to start.
Yeah. So pick that up. But number one job, Justice Smith said.
Oh, Robert Kelly said, just bought it.
Oh, really? Hey, I could have given you one, Robert. But yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, awesome. You're gonna enjoy that. Justice says that number one job of the husband is to make sure she doesn't need another husband.
Oh, that's good, Justice.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. And good to see you here tonight, bro. Look,
I agree.
So, but for everybody who said to love her, I think that is the number one answer, because everything else that you said is really an outgrowth of that love for your wife. And so I believe, and I think the word supports that you could say that the number one job of a husband is to love her.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's easy. We're done. Y'all, see you next week. Right.
Yeah. But no. Yeah. But there's more to it than that. Right. Because it's not just to love her. It is to love her. ...
Yeah. And I think that's what Andrea put in there, as Christ loves the church. So when I say to love her as Christ loved the church, then like a lot of church folk will say, well, I mean, I asked what that means. What are they going to say?
Am I church folks?
You church folks for this purpose of this question. You church folk. Yeah, what they gonna say?
Oh, that he
what does it mean to love her like Christ loved the church?
Right, that he gave himself up for her, that he gave his life for her, he died for her. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Is that what church folks?
People say, yeah, you got to be ready to die.
You got to be ready to die,
right?
Oh, okay,
you'll die for her, right? And it's like, yeah, yes, but how? And when I say how, I don't mean like, by what method, by what means. I mean, what's being put to death? Because the death on the cross thing has happened.
Yeah.
Right? Jesus did it. That's not the expectation of us. Right? It's kind of different. Right? I think I saw Robert put sacrificially. It's different.
Yeah.
And so, well, let me ask you, and this is just as a wife, as my wife, because I mean, you know, when you hear that, how does it strike you? When the Bible says your husband's supposed to love you like Christ loved the church.
Right. So am I still church folks?
You Wendy now.
Oh, okay.
Even though that can be kind of dangerous for you to be Wendy. Well, let's just give it a shot and see what happens. Go ahead.
No, I mean, when I hear that, it first prompts me to pull out the word, right, and to read for myself, because there's some learning that has to take place there. So if I'm not familiar with what Ephesians says, and I think this is in Ephesians 5, then I'm subject to somebody else's interpretation. So I would have to pull out the word, flip to Ephesians 5 to see what it says, and then kind of go from there. So Ephesians 5, I'd like to go back to 5:21, but Ephesians 5:25 is where it really kind of gets into the husband's role. Okay. So what does that mean, right?
To you, like I just want you just like you.
It makes me feel like that I'm special. Right? It makes me feel like I have to be really special or important to be worthy of you giving up or sacrificing for me. That's what I take from that.
Okay. You say why?
Yeah.
Well, because I think that's a big instruction, right?
For you.
For me, for the husband, right? As Christ of the church. Because he did die for the church, right? But there's so much more, right? Because and I would think that if that were written about wives, then you should kind of feel like, wow, special.
Yeah.
Like there should be something special happening as a result of this thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so for that reason too, it should be easy. It's like, listen, this is like this is like a slow pitch, but it's not.
Yeah.
Because we're not being asked to die in that way, and we know it. Right. So there are a lot of things that we bring to the table as husbands. We bring baggage, and y'all. I think some of y'all support me on that. We bring baggage to the table. We bring baggage from the old relationships. We bring baggage from what we learned kind of growing up.
Yeah.
We things that what I hear, you hear a lot. For some reason, as men, we announce it a lot. We announce that that we grown men. Why do we do that?
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know.
There's like there's a need sometimes to prove it, right? To prove it to the world, to prove it to your wife, to prove it to these kids, these people at work. There's so much proving going on.
Yeah.
And so when you're in that space and you're trying to prove it, you're trying to live up to it, and you're trying to do all the things that are necessary, then sometimes that noise gets in the way of the real job as it pertains to your wife.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you say that, because it's almost, I know a lot of people who have relationships where who we are at home with us is different than who we are with the world. But in some marriages, that need to prove something or let people know or whatever actually happens within the marriage itself.
Yeah.
It's like you can tell the world, all those things, that you're grown, that you're this, that you're big, you're bad, you all that. But you don't necessarily have to tell me. I already know because I'm here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if that's for you, take that one. She already knows because you're there. She knows who you are. She fell in love with you. She chose you, and God saw fit to bring you two together. So there's nothing to prove there.
Yeah,
just saying.
Right, because once you're able to get beyond this thing that you're proving, and sometimes, I mean, I don't know, you don't even necessarily feel it like it's like that's what it is. But when there's opposition, what feels like opposition at home, then it feels similar to the opposition out there on the street. But it's not, right? There can be disagreement. There can be arguments, right? There can be things that you just don't, you're not in the same place on. That's a different kind of a disagreement, right? It's not opposition in the same way that you might experience out there. And I think sometimes we use the same weapons at home that we do on the streets.
Yeah, because a disagreement is not challenging your manhood. It's not calling you out. And it's also not trying to, really kind of challenge you in a way that you're not equipped for, right? Yeah. It is what it is. And we've talked about how to fight fair and how to handle conflict. But I think sometimes it's necessary to remind us, because as we get going in our everyday lives, in our work relationships, our relationships outside of the home, each of us is being challenged in some way. And inevitably we bring all that home. Just saying.
No question. Yeah, and so Greg Hoyt, listen, slow down, brother. I'm getting there, man. Just work with me. But thank you. I was going to ask you, Greg put Galatians 5:22-23 in the chat. I was going to ask you to go ahead and drop it, like what it actually says.
Yes.
Because this right here, and I'll take this little aside to say, we will actually have people sometimes print the fruits of the Spirit out as kind of because sometimes, look, y'all human, you need a reminder, right? And so we'll say, hey, put it in the bathroom on the mirror, put it on the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Just list them. Boom, boom, boom. You don't have to put the reference or anything. Just list them. Yeah. Because it gives you, there's something, if you actually look at it, then you will remember this last conversation that you had, and you will immediately compare what you said and how you said it to those standards. Right? And so, how am I doing today? Right? It's a way. So, hey, that's for free, but they're an excellent way to kind of gauge what you're doing. Right? Yeah. So, but let's talk about this job a little more, right? Yeah, because some people talk about the whole provider thing, right? And because I'm a provider, that shows I love you. Right? But what I need to say, I'm here and I'm paying, getting these bills paid, and I'm, keeping that food and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what, you got something for that?
No, I was just going to say, we've also talked about 5 love languages, right? Yeah. And so that if you are the person who prides yourself on being the provider, and that's what has been established as your role within your relationship, then wouldn't it be awesome if you were paired up with someone whose love language was to receive gifts? Just Eureka. Saying. But it doesn't always happen that way. And I think that my point in this is, it's a necessary conversation. Even the exploration of what your roles are, or what you perceive your role is a conversation to have. So you're talking specifically about what is the husband's job. I like that someone dropped in there, dying to self. And while we're talking about husbands tonight, we're going to really kind of unpack Ephesians a little bit, because there's something in here for wives as well. So go ahead.
But we don't worry. The wives are going to get, y'all are going to get a nice, good, robust, good 45 minutes next week. Right. Because I want to make sure that, that we leave husbands here tonight with something that you can actually take and use, right? And so this is not, the Bible is very interesting, right? It talks, the word talks about it being like a two-edged sword or whatever. And so there's a lot of things in there. I want you to take in the things that you hear for you. What am I supposed to do? Because as the husband, you got to be in that place. What is my job right now? Because what I feel like is not always what I necessarily do. Right? When things are going kind of to the left, every now so when now, we believe it or not, we will disagree on occasion.
We disagree often.
Time to time, right? And so
often,
and sometimes that disagreement, we it's quick. Sometimes it doesn't go very well. And I will say oftentimes, well, hey, it's because you said what you said in whatever way you said it. I didn't appreciate what you said, how you said it, whatever. Therefore, the conversation went to the left. And here's where it shall remain for a little bit until I feel like I can come back. Right? And so generally speaking, Wendy is telling me, nah, you did that thing that I told you that you do. You took it to the left. And so now, instead of whatever we started with, oftentimes we walk ourselves over to how it all happened. And that becomes a new thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's true. I was just going to say, we talked about that when we were talking about keeping the main thing the main thing. So if you didn't see that, catch that video, go back through some of the videos on the page and watch that one. That was a good one.
Yeah. And so I'm here to tell you, fellas, that ultimately, when you find yourself caught in that loop, it actually doesn't matter how it started, why it started.
Yeah. That's good.
It doesn't. There are times when listen, you don't have to raise your hand. There's been times though that you probably sat around for a week more, just silent treatment, doing the minimum communication. Good morning. I love you, because if I don't say I love you before you get off the phone, then maybe all that stuff, right? So I got to say I love you, bye, right? So, but it's just you do the bare minimum because you're still, we in our feelings about how that conversation went. In our feelings about that thing that we think is wrong, right? And so how do you get out of the loop? One way you get out of the loop, and this personal experience, is sacrifice. Sacrificing the point you were trying to make, right? Giving up the idea that she's going to come to you and say, I'm sorry for that, right? And then, and this part, some of y'all might go ahead and just end it right now, right? Click, go and watch TV. Apologizing to her for allowing it to drag on that far. Apologizing to her for whatever the thing is that you did to help keep this going.
Oh, that's good.
That right there is supremely difficult. And there have been times when I'm like, okay, I need to do that. And I'm like, nope, not doing it. And so you go to bed that first night and the word says, don't go to bed angry, right? And I'm like, or don't let the sun set on you. Yeah. The sun has set on a lot of evenings where I've decided I'm not going to do that because I want my point to get across.
Yeah.
And talk about what that's like from I'm gonna just be real about it, from your side of it. When it's that, what does that feel like?
Well, I scrolled up, so I can't go to those comments. But so let me just hit those first. Stephanie McNeil Barrett says 2 cleave together and 2 becomes 1, and so she was kind of going into that. And then Cynthia James Walter says men want respect, which kind of speaks to, and so some of these are kind of back. Thank you for dropping in Galatians 5 and the fruits of the spirit. And then Justice says, yes, this can get real deep. Lisa McNeil says disagreements shouldn't be like the ones you encounter in the streets, but they can be that ugly for some people. And thank you for sharing that, Lisa. And I know she also added that that's an extremely unhealthy place to be because there are no barriers or limits. And I think it's important to kind of point that out, because when we're talking about what happens between us, I'd like to think that what happens between us is different than what happens between either of us and everyone else. And so anyway, when I was talking about if your husband's a provider and that marries up with the 5 love languages, and if you're someone who likes to receive gifts, Jay says his wife was laughing. And then Nicolette pointed out that, providing is not just money. It's not just things. There's so many other things in that. Thomas Stokes dropped Ephesians in there, almost all of it. Thank you for that. And then Robert Kelly comes in with her hopes and dreams, aspirations, free, me time, needs, and overall happiness. And then KC said it's getting hot in here. So with that said, okay. What is it like for me when you decide that you're just gonna hold your ground? Is that basically what you were asking? Yeah. I mean, it's painful, right? Because, and it's hard because it's not that I'm also kind of digging in and I'm like, I'm not saying anything to you either. It's not a tit for tat. I'm not trying to get back at you. But it's hard because I'm frustrated. And it's like, hey, we've been here before. We know what this is. You've said what should happen, but it's not happening. Mm-hmm. And so how do we keep finding ourselves back at this place? It's extremely frustrating. And so, a lot of people have said, well, if we keep repeating the same things, or if there are things that trigger us and we find ourselves in the same place, how do we break that cycle? And that's what you were talking about. Mm-hmm. How do you break the cycle? And
I don't want to talk about breaking the cycle yet.
Yeah, but what I can appreciate is what you're saying is that, well, you said it already, that you said, how do you break the loop?
Yeah, but that's not the question right now. The question for you, Wendy.
Frustrated.
Thank you.
It's extremely frustrating.
I think I asked that question like 10 minutes ago.
And I said it, right? I mean, extremely frustrating because you have informed my expectations.
What? Say more. What do you mean?
Well, if we were newly married and we were still learning each other and still trying to figure this thing out, then we're kind of navigating that together. And I don't know how this fight is going to end up versus another fight or disagreement or whatever. I'm not sure yet. Yeah. But after 23 years, I kind of know what it is and how it goes. And so the fact that we can't just get over it or get past it, and I have to deal with you in your feelings, it's extremely frustrating. Yeah.
Okay, good.
That's the answer.
All right. And so those moments then when that moment comes, right? Yeah. That because over the years, I think that getting past that it's taken on a lot of different forms. But there's almost always a conversation around it. Almost always. Sometimes it just kind of goes away. Yeah. But generally speaking, somebody has to step forward into that.
Yeah, and right? and at a point or a time, I would sometimes be that person.
Yeah.
But I have noticed that you what you do is you kind of you throw out a feeler question.
What's a feeler question?
You say, and this is the look on your face when you say it. Hold on.
I can't wait for this. Let me.
You say, did something happen that I don't know about?
No, that is not. If that's gonna be, listen.
Wait, you say, did something happen? Is everything good with you, or did something happen and I don't know what it is? That's it's hilarious. Just like that I don't know about. Did something happen?
You know what? Stop it. Anyway,
that's what it is, and it's like you kind of glance at me real quick. It's not eye contact.
No,
you just look at me real quick, and then you
see this is looking anyway. Over here. But yeah, so no, but it is more of a. I know something happened, so it's more right, of it's more of a
question.
Yeah, but the feeler is okay. Are you feeling some kind of way about what happened? And sometimes it's interesting because what I think is the thing is not the thing. It's like the real thing was like way before that. And so, but once we are able to kind of navigate into that, and if I apologize at the times when I've just said taken that on, how does it change that frustration? And because you say frustration in a word, but there's like a lot there, right?
Yeah.
What happens when I just say, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm sorry. And, and own some things. Then what happens when there's ownership? This is a legit question, y'all. This is not a setup. I don't know what she's gonna ask, what she's gonna say this question.
I mean, because it doesn't happen often.
Listen, what are you saying? It happens I feel like it happens a lot. It's like, man, here I am again.
No, it doesn't happen often. I mean, you always express some ownership eventually, but not always. And you don't always lead with "I'm sorry."
Listen, I know this. I'm asking you what happens when it does.
Okay.
Good gracious.
So
listen.
So
we don't
have
a half day.
When you say "I'm sorry," and you own it, it immediately diffuses the situation. It immediately puts me in a place of, okay, so now I can talk to you. Now I can look at you. Now we can have a conversation, because until that happens, and to be honest, when you do it, when you step out and you lead, and I think somebody said, the man has to take the lead. When you lead in that way, then it really kind of causes me to kind of pause and own my own stuff.
For real?
Yeah. That's what happens. Yeah.
I've seen that happen.
Yeah. And I'll say, you know what? I'm sorry too for A, B, C, and D. That's how it goes.
Oh, I don't know. You rather get to the D, but the A, B, and C for sure. No, but I think that, in some way, and so knowing the answers intellectually doesn't always lead to the action.
No,
right?
It doesn't.
And so, because what Wendy just said, I know, right? And so, and sometimes, maybe it'll be immediate. Sometimes it'll take a while, but I can tell you this, and I said this. Greg Hoyt is I'm on a call with Greg and about 100 other brothers every morning, which is crazy. Brothers Bible Brief, but it is without question that every time we've had a major kind of breakthrough when we've been stuck, it's been on the heels of me owning some things.
Yeah.
Every time. Right?
That's true.
It's true.
That is so true.
I know.
Huh.
Yeah, she's like that, like that's a revelation. But so what's the point? The point is that as a husband, and honestly, y'all, sometimes I'm right. Sometimes I'm right.
Sometimes you are.
But my thing is, like, do you want to be right? Or do you want to be married? Do you want to love this woman? Because sometimes you got to get out of your way. And being right is really beside the point, right? Because if we kind of let it drag on, then in effect we wrong.
Yeah, but you bring up a good point, because and this is what I think. This is according to Wendy Perry. I don't think either of us is ever all right.
Oh yeah, that is absolutely. That is a great point. Except every now and then. I mean, I'm kind of right a lot. It's
neither of us is ever all right in any situation.
Yeah.
Although we can get real righteous, but
we get real righteous, y'all. I mean, like righteous.
Yeah.
But like a lot of you do, right? Because we take that disagreement, and then we want to be all we not only do we want to be right, we want our spouse to acknowledge our rightness.
That's true.
And for that, we will drag that thing out for a long time.
Yeah, and we do. I mean,
we collectively, but we certainly have, for sure, right? But
longer than it needs to.
Longer than it needs to.
Yeah.
Right? And so now fairly, some people would still kind of push back on that and say, yeah, whatever, I do that and nothing happens. Right? Look,
it takes time.
It can take time.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of the commitment. It's hard, right? But and we talked about this recently, but I don't think it's ever a bad time to talk about. The example is to love your wife as Christ loved the church, right? He willingly gave himself up for the church. Let's think about this. Answer this question. You can put it in the chat. You can just kind of talk about it amongst yourselves. Suppose Jesus had not actually died on the cross. Suppose he said, you know what? Enough of this bull. I'm coming down from this cross and I'm going to smite. Is it smite?
Yes.
I'm striking down everybody who had anything will put me up here. Suppose that had been what he did. Now, I think people would have still followed him, obviously, right? People would still follow him. But when he says, follow me, use my example, live as I have lived, do as I have done, what does that mean for your marriage? Think about that. Because his role, his method was complete and total sacrifice, even unto death. That was the job.
Yeah.
And what's up?
Go ahead.
No, and so that's what he did. But instead of the sacrifice route, suppose he went the power route. That's what I'm suggesting. Because a lot of us, I think we use the power route. Suppose that was an example. Then what?
Be like, how's that working for you? Stop.
My bad.
Stop it.
Are you? Stop scrolling. Anyway, go ahead.
Bob and Gwen, thanks for joining us.
What's up, y'all?
I know. It's all good. Here's the rest of that, or at least I've heard you discuss this, right? In terms of giving himself up in the sacrifice and death, right? And it was despite what they were doing. I mean, I think to me, that's the rest of it that we don't spend enough time in, right? So even when I'm not being nice, even when I'm not being forgiving, even when I'm not owning my own stuff, even when I am giving you the silent treatment, even when I'm making it cold in the bed at night, you are still called.
Yeah.
To.
No, that's good. And so, look, this is where, I think it was just saying it's getting deep. This is where it gets deep because a lot of times, and listen, y'all stick with me because a lot of you're gonna have some issue with hearing this. I have issue with saying it, but the truth is what the truth is. Jesus died on the cross for the church, right? Now as he's dying, right? He's getting spit on, right? He's getting abused. He's getting nailed to a cross. People are saying all kind of things to him, even up until the point where he's dying. Right? He understood this about people.
Yeah.
And knew that going forward, same people that he was dying for were going to continue to disobey the things that he instructed. We're going to continue to do things that were not pleasing to him, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to continue to sin, basically, right? Died for him anyway. Died for him anyway.
Yeah.
And so a lot of us try to make it this negotiation, this compromise, right? As long as she does this, then I'm gonna do that. That's not the job.
Yeah.
Tough pill to swallow. That's the pill, though. It's not the job to wait for her to get right before we get right. Before we love her, right? Because the love that we get from Jesus, it's freely offered. It's just there if we want to receive it, right? We don't get to withhold that. I mean, that's just what it is, y'all, right? We don't get to withhold it. And I know, and you can give me all kind of examples. And I can give you a few where I'm just like, please. Man, look, I don't have nothing to say, right? That's not the job, right? It is to love her because there are things that happen as a result of that freely offered love, right? And the reason I asked the question, if Jesus had used power to come off the cross instead of the sacrifice that he made, if that's the example, well, then a lot of this just kind of blows up, right? It doesn't make sense, right? A lot of y'all say, it doesn't make sense for me to sacrifice. It doesn't make sense for me to have to say, I'm sorry when I didn't do nothing. Right? Yes, a mystery, right? Why does it work? Right? But that's what was done for us. And so we will often try to withhold things that were done for us. And but for our wives, that's the job. Today, tomorrow, again, and again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because there's something about our sacrifice and loving her in the way she needs to be loved that even her life and salvation are tied up in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it is part of how we present this woman, right, to God, who is free of all of the baggage and the resentment and the hurt and the pain or whatever that would come from our disobedience, right? From us not being able to sacrifice in that way for her, right? And so practically speaking, it makes sense, because if I can't say I'm sorry, if I can't own my stuff, if I can't kind of take on her stuff, sometimes, if somebody doesn't take, somebody's going to carry it. Somebody's going to have to do something with it. So what's it going to be? Are you going to like, you know what? Whatever's wrong with you, figure it out. Call me when you do. And if you said those words, don't feel guilty, but acknowledge to yourself that you said those words. The question is, how do you somehow give her something different? And we're not going to take you through a whole like half-day like study on it.
Yeah.
But if you're able to do that, then there are some things that are going to happen in her heart that allow her to then be that person, right? That wife that you dream of, right? Allow her to be the wife that she dreams of, in fact.
Yeah. Right? And I like that Jessica said that it's really hard to do in our own strength. That's when we have to rely on the Spirit of God, which we don't always do. Because it is more, you said, even no amount of intelligence, intellect, logic, cognition, just because doesn't mean that you do, right? Mm-hmm. And so we often say, if you know better, then you do better. But knowing and doing, there's a chasm, there's space between that. Mm-hmm. And how do we then bring ourselves to a place of being able to do as much and do things in alignment with what we know? And so it's not just this, right? You don't just snap your fingers and now all of a sudden tomorrow when you have an argument, as the man, you're going to be like, yeah, because we watched The Marriage Shop and Mike said, do this. Yeah, no, we know it doesn't happen like that, right? We encourage you to study the word for yourself and to get meaning from it for yourself. And then when it comes to the application, understanding and owning that it is difficult to do under your own strength. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and there's a couple of, in terms of how to do that in a moment, right?
Yeah.
Like Greg Hoyt put earlier in the chat, Galatians 5, 22, 23, right? Love, peace, kindness, self-control, right? Things like that. Those give us some instruction on how to do it, what it should look like when you're engaging. Sometimes it's still hard, right? And so I think accountability in your life is important. And I've told y'all before, those of you who have seen this in the past, I have a few strong brothers, very few, who I can like connect with. And they can kind of help me like get my head right a little bit when I'm stuck somewhere and ask me some very key questions about how I'm doing what I'm doing. Like, and sometimes it can be very simple stuff, man. Like, do you love her or not? Right? If the answer is yes, why are we still talking? Right? What's your job? You need somebody sometime to ask you that.
Yeah.
What's your job?
Oh, what's your job?
Yeah.
Oh.
Right. And to remind you sometimes of how you get there. Okay. And so I'm gonna give y'all a couple of things here. These are not in any particular order. But and I could give you a list of 30 things, but these are just a few to think about in terms of how you do your job as a husband. Okay. So the number one thing is to treat this woman like the first and the last.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, that's something that I have said in early arguments and have said over the years that I want your best. I don't want what's left. And if you assume a posture or you act like and you treat me like I'm the first and the last, that changes everything.
Yeah.
That changes everything.
Yeah. And so, let me elaborate on just a little bit, because what I mean by that, the first, like, drop all that old baggage. A lot of times the things that we arguing about at home are the things that get us, a little riled up or whatever. A lot of times it's based on something that happened in the past, and we've decided that thing is not going to happen again. Right. So make sure that you treat this woman like she's a first, right? Like, everything is new, and you're creating something new with her, right? And treat her like the last in terms of dropping the new baggage. So you first got to drop the old baggage from that thing back in the day.
Yeah.
But then you got to drop the new baggage. That means forgiving quickly. That means forgiving when it's hard. That means letting go when it's hard, showing her love when it's hard. Right? So you gotta let go.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing, like let it go like quickly right now, like this moment. Matter of fact, given the number of people that are popping on and off, I'm going to assume that some of y'all are stuck right now. So I'm going to challenge you, man, to let it go right now. Let her know you love her, and let her know that, hey, yeah, I apologize. I'm sorry for letting this get this far, and I'm just here to love you, like Christ Love Church.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I don't want to interrupt you. I think that the feed may have been interrupted. We can just keep talking and just post the whole thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And so, other thing I want y'all to do is create security for her, right? And you got to find your own. And so the security for you is in the word. Like, if you do these things, then these other things are going to happen, right?
Yeah.
You, at this part of her journey, she's got to know that you're going to be there no matter what.
That's good.
Right? Yeah. So create security for her. Don't abandon her in times when it gets difficult. And so sometimes we get angry and we can just we can just kind of disappear.
Yeah.
That's kind of abandoning. And so be with her, right, through it all. And be willing to, like I said, forgive and love and let go and all that stuff. And let her know, like, yeah, that was hard. This is hard, but I'm not going anywhere, right? Create security for her, because when she has security and she knows you're going to be around, she does not have to fight that. She doesn't have to worry, and that way she can fully be who she is.
Yeah, and that makes a huge difference. I mean, just like you were saying in the first part, right? Treat this woman like she's the first and the last. I mean, providing security, often we threaten each other, right? And we encourage you not to launch threats like, if you don't do this, then this, right? Living kind of walking on a tightrope. It is, I don't know what's going to happen if he gets angry again, or if this doesn't work out, and is my marriage at risk, and just kind of always walking on eggshells and not feeling secure. That can make all the difference, right? When you know, and you are confident that there is nothing that is going to be able to breach your marriage. There is nothing that's going to be able to come between the two of you. And that at the end of the day, no matter how bad the argument gets, that there is some security, right? That if nothing else stands, that our marriage stands, makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I said, even when it's hard, right? If you look in Matthew, I think it's chapter 26, around like verse 37, it begins to talk about what Jesus did before he went to the garden, right? And about 3 times, Jesus checks in with God to say, hey, if you would take this cup from me, right? That'd be cool if you would do that, right? But if you don't, not my will, yours, right? He did that about 3 times.
Yeah.
He was not feeling like amazing, right? He was struggling with what he had to do. And so sometimes you're going to struggle with what you got to do, right? But that's the job.
Yeah.
And if you do that, and so here's the reward, right? Now you may be waiting for respect, or for better sex life, or for a better communication, life, or whatever you're waiting for.
Yeah.
But the sacrifice often has to come before the reward. In the case of Jesus,
slow down and say that again.
The sacrifice has to come before the reward. That's kind of like a universal principle. If you're trying to get all swole like Coach Hoy, fine, right? Like Thomas Stokes, lifting up people and carrying them down staircases and all the stuff they do.
Yeah.
Sacrifice comes before the reward. Right.
Yeah, that's good, because I think I know you're going to get to this, but that is the same chapter where nobody else was doing what they were supposed to do. Right.
Well, the two he brought with him were sleeping on the job. Right. They were supposed to be watching. They were sleeping. That's a whole nother story. We'll get to that. All right. But the reward. So in the case of Jesus in Philippians 2:5, this is one of my favorite scriptures, right? Because it says, in your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who, having in the very being in the very nature of God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, so he didn't use his position, right, as an advantage to lord over people, right? Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. So he had his position was here, and he stepped here in this skin, right? But here's the kicker. Therefore, and this is the part, it's crazy, God exalted him. I should wear my glasses tonight. God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name. That at the name of Jesus, every knee shall bow in heaven and on the earth and under the earth, and every tongue acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean for you fellas and your sacrifice? What it means is, before you can be elevated to that place, like truly elevated to the place that to your position as the leader and the spiritual leader in your home, the sacrifice got to come first. So if you're struggling, you got to pray with your wife, pray for your wife, right? Take your right to be right and put it to the side and step into the place of taking on everything about that situation with her. It has potential to change everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's good, and that's deep, and I will even add, which nothing needs to be added to that, but I will add that we're talking about the husband and the wife, right? But this also extends beyond your wife to your children, right? And so some of you are frustrated even with your children, and it's the same thing. And so when you are able to first establish that with your wife, even if that is the primary focus, right? For those of you that have children, and everything that you're saying, when you do that and you lead in that way, then she follows, then they follow. You know what I'm saying? And so, because often what happens, and we've seen this, and you know people like this, where it seems like if the wife is disrespectful of her husband, then the children can sometimes in some ways be disrespectful of the husband and father too. And as this goes, if it's in order and the man rightfully assumes the role he is ordained to assume, if you are playing your role in your position, then everything else will get in line.
So Playing for Envelope says, can we use Jesus' sacrifice instead? I don't know what you mean by that. Bob says, but my wife didn't marry Jesus. Yeah, right. And so I'm gonna end with this question quick, Wendy. I'm gonna need you to give me your short answer version to this question.
Okay.
How much credit do I get for trying?
You get all the credit for trying. My admiration and my respect for you making the effort, right? I mean, we are called to be Christ-like. We are not called to be Christ. And I think that, you can say, well, what if I fall short? We all fall short. We all fall short.
Yep.
And so, I respect you and I love you for making it a priority. Yeah. Because you've identified it as something that's important to you. That makes the difference.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So thank you for that question. That is, look, it's just the next disagreement is coming. The next issue is coming. You just got to try. I mean, sometimes what it's trying to look like for me, sometimes it's like, I'm all like in my feelings and I lie down in the bed and I'll take my foot and I'll slide it just over the halfway point in the bed and I'll lean my toe over just like, boop. And that toe toucher means, hey girl, I got an attitude, but I still love you. I'm trying right now.
Yeah. And sometimes I would like move my leg right on out of the way.
She would like get up in the fetal position. So then I'm like, oh no. So I just like keep on scooting sometimes.
So we're both hanging on the edge of my side of the bed. You got to do whatever it is that you can do. Be careful of setting a bar that's too high. And, a couple of you dropped that in the comments. It is, again, don't beat yourself up if it's not something that you're able to do today, right? I encourage you to have the conversation, talk about these things, share with each other, because our belief is that your intent is not to destroy each other, right? We got married because we believed that marriage could be really good for us. We believed that our love would be able to carry us through anything. As we've lived, a lot of things have come against us, and sometimes we fail horribly. I mean, sometimes it's just really bad. We have had some really bad times as well, which really kind of brings us to here tonight with you, right? We're not sparing you the experiences you will have. We're just here to kind of share some of our experience, prompt you to have a conversation maybe that you haven't had, and to encourage you and support you as you navigate to a better marriage, a better relationship between the two of you.
Yeah. Bad experiences don't have to define your entire relationship, right? They are part of the journey, but they don't have to be your destination. Right? And really your desire to have something different is a start to doing that. But doing it by yourself is virtually impossible.
Yeah.
Right. That's where spending time praying alone and together comes into play. That's where understanding what God had to say about marriage comes into play, because as you begin to study those things and you repeatedly read those things and you take those in and you talk about them, then all of a sudden they become active. Now, all of a sudden, taking that on, saying you're sorry, apologizing, loving, it's not now a struggle, it's a reflex. Right. So there'll be times when you kind of have that moment, like reflexively you do it. And then it's like, well, it's hard tomorrow. Well, that's tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like I said, we're not perfect, but it is about continuing to try. All right.
Yep.
So now Bob Young. Okay. See, Bob, you know, this is important. We're way over, right? Because we think it's an important topic. But he says, are there issues that you avoid altogether to avoid conflict? Well, the answer to that is probably. It depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
I think that, different couples do it a different way. Some say, hey, we need to talk about everything. Some say this one right here, this is a dead end issue. We just not going to talk about it at all. I would ask how that issue is impacting your relationship, that is avoiding it or taking it on. But more importantly, I'd ask, where's your heart? Both of you. If there's something that you two can't grapple with together, is it a matter of continuing to work on where your heart is, right? I wouldn't, if you're not ready, I wouldn't necessarily force it, but maybe the first work to do is just like, man, where are we with being able to just sit down and listen to each other and hear what's being said without taking that one piece that we tend to do and running off with an argument. Just being able to sit and understand, like prioritize listening to your wife, right? Listening to your husband, what their real concerns are, right? But there's also ways, and we got to go, but we'll talk about like how you convey, right? How you talk about things. Because there's sometimes you're sitting and you're listening, you're open, but what you get is a whole lot of stuff that just gets you turned right back up, right? And so we need to talk about how to do that.
Yeah.
But we can't do that tonight. But we appreciate y'all.
Yes. That's good. Hey, Donald Mondragon, so glad you could be here. Oh, Skip. And he said, does it really matter? Great question to ask. And so you guys, we appreciate you so much joining us tonight. And we just ask for your prayers as we get ready to do quite a bit of travel for the rest of the month. So when you pray, please include us in your prayers for safe travel and for everything that God is calling us to do. So thank you again. We enjoyed having you in the Marriage Shop tonight and loved all the comments that you shared.
Yeah. Appreciate y'all. Stop. All right. Knock it off, Robert Kelly. Last question. Hey, listen, we want to pray for you all real quick before we go.
Yes, yes.
Heavenly Father, we just come tonight just thanking you for being God. Thank you for these people that have spent time with us this evening, who will watch this on replay. We just ask that you bless all of these couples, these marriages, bless their homes, bless their families, help them, help us all to be more like you, to forgive more quickly, to love more readily, to always be ready to come together with grace and compassion and understanding and peace. We know you can help us to do that, God. We just ask for your help with that every day that we breathe on this earth. So we thank you for it. We love you. We praise you. And we just trust you with everything. We pray these and other blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Hey, listen, appreciate y'all. Take care. We will see you next week. Yes. And pray for us. We're on the way to New York to take this kid back to Syracuse. The nest is going to be empty again. Woohoo! Good night, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's your boy, JC. I'm in the mood. Love. Yeah. Lately I've been constantly thinking about you, babe. You drive me crazy. Yeah. And girl, I want this. Got me all up in my feelings. Oh, what a feeling, yeah. I knew the first time I laid eyes on you that you would be here forever. I'm not being arrogant, and I still can't take my eyes off you. 'Cause you made me better, so much better. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, baby. Yeah. I love your kindness, I love your confidence. Ooh, you're the finest. So glad you're mine, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't wanna be with nobody else. Give me your love, that's all the wealth I need. Baby, you're priceless to me, yeah. To love you for a lifetime. I'm in the to love you for a lifetime, yeah. Promise I'ma be around, I'ma always hold you down. Won't you come and hold me now? Won't you come and hold me now? I just got a new coupe, yeah, I know I got a roof, but I always keep it down with you, yeah. And I know they see, girl, you're my queen, and beauty speaks for itself loud and clear, yeah. So throw it in the air. It's the sweetest sound to follow my ear. And I want the world to know I'll love you forever. And that's a long time, babe. But I got time for you, baby. I'm in the mood. Ooh, for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you, yeah. For a lifetime, baby. Ooh, yeah. For a lifetime. Oh, for a lifetime. Yeah, yeah.